steward. Hello, I'm John Matthews, your host, and I'm also a steward.
I'm Joelle Royer, your co-host, and this is Keeper of My Heart. This session is about teaching children faith and finance. It is one thing for us to trust God and be faithful and generous. It is a different matter to teach children the principles of this.
Joelle, in the Olympics, the torch is passed from one runner to the next. We need to transfer our values somehow to our children.
Absolutely. But do the same money management principles apply to children as they do to adults? Does God expect children to return a portion of what they receive, however small that may be? When are children ready to learn about sacrifice, systematic giving, and generosity in offerings to support the mission of the church?
Joelle, those are big questions. Those of us who've raised children would likely agree that it's important to start early teaching them the principles of good giving habits. They need to learn by watching our example when they're toddlers. You may have given your children something to place in the offering when they're very small, just so they understand that they are participating with mom and dad. When the offering plate comes by, you have a powerful teaching moment. Your children pay attention to what you do.
That's so true. The other thing they have to consider is, how do children learn the why of giving?
It starts with just explaining it to them. My wife gave our granddaughters a bank that had 3 slots. The first slot was marked fun money. The second slot was marked savings. The third was marked money for Jesus. The girls loved the gift and quickly grasped 3 simple ideas. Number 1, not all the money they received is spendable. And number 2, there is such a thing as planning for something you might want in the future. Number 3, and most importantly, Jesus was not forgotten. Giving them the bank became an opportunity to teach the why of giving to Jesus.
That is a really cool idea. Children are never too young to learn and understand such important concepts. By age 3, children already have caught the concept of mine. So just as young parents teach their babies to share a toy and to be kind to others, they can also teach them to be thankful. Thankfulness leads to generosity.
Children must be led to Jesus on a daily basis in order to fully comprehend the idea of giving to Him. If Jesus is real in their lives, giving will be a natural response, something they're going to want to do. We don't want them to feel like money is being taken away from them. Here's a story by Gary Patterson that talks about a special gift from a little girl.
During the years that I served as pastor of the University Church at Southern Adventist University in Collegedale, Tennessee, I regularly urged the people in their stewardship, their faithfulness in giving, and encouraged them to give sacrificially. In my sermons, I would cover points specifically as what it meant to us to be faithful in our giving to the Lord, giving even beyond our comfort zone at times. It might mean giving something that we cherished, something that was special. And rather than just giving offerings, we set up a Sabbath prior to Christmas in which we would bring things that we would use to make up Christmas baskets, making it a special sacrificial Sabbath of something that we had done with our own hands, made and given for a special reason. The congregation was invited to bring these gifts up to the steps in the chancel area at the platform the front of the church. And as we were bringing the gifts forward, I was standing at the pulpit watching when I noticed a little girl come walking down the aisle, clutching something closely to herself. And then I began to realize what it was. It was her favorite doll. She had decided to give it up as a sacrifice for some other child. Tears welled up in my eyes, even as they do now as I tell it. I wanted to rush down and tell her, no, you don't have to give your favorite doll. That wasn't what I had in mind. But she took the doll, hugged it, gave it a kiss, laid it there for some other child to love in a Christmas gift. Obviously, the little girl had learned what it meant to give sacrificially. And who was I in that moment to interrupt that kind of dedication that she had learned at such a young and tender age?
I will find my rest in you, the keeper of my heart.
God has always blessed his people throughout history. However, when the blessings come, so does God's expectations of what we are to do with it. God expects us to use our gifts and blessings in order to be a light in a dark world. However, God knows that the way this is accomplished is through a relationship with him that makes him the center of your life. Is God the most precious thing in your life? God wants the relationship he has with you to be the most precious thing you have in this world. Sometimes it requires letting go of the things we are holding tightly to here on this earth in order for that to be a reality. Do you recall the story of God asking Abraham to sacrifice his precious son Isaac, the son whom God had promised to Abraham? Abraham, the father of faithful, had begun to show signs of distrust in God when he hid the fact that Sarah was his wife and took Hagar as his wife. God wanted to have such a relationship with Abraham that he gave Abraham one more test in order to show the universe once and for all who Abraham was committed to. Abraham longed to believe that God had not meant what he said, that God did not truly mean for the son who he was promised to die by his own hand, and yet he made up his mind that his relationship with his Creator came first. And so he went to sacrifice what was most precious to him. Abraham's great act of faith stands like a pillar of light, illuminating the pathway of God's servant in all succeeding ages. Abraham did not seek to excuse himself from doing the will of God. During that 3 days' journey, he had sufficient time to reason and to doubt God if he was disposed to doubt. He might have reasoned that the slaying of his son would cause him to be looked upon as a murderer, a second Cain, that it would cause his teachings to be rejected and despised, and thus destroy his power to do good to his fellow men. He might have pleaded that age should excuse him from obedience, but the patriarch did not take refuge in any of these excuses. And so we must not hesitate to give what we hold most precious to God. During this trying test, Isaac stood by watching his father. He was never to forget the lesson he learned that day. Isaiah 54:13 says that all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children. Every week, the demands of God upon each family are brought to mind by each of its members fully carrying out the plan. And as they have denied themselves some superfluity in order to have means to put into the treasury, lessons of value in self-denial for the glory of God have been impressed upon the heart. It is this type of sacrifice that draws unbelievers to the foot of the cross.
What a precious story. You know, children continue to surprise us with their understanding of concepts at a very early age. The beauty of this story is that if young ones continue to be nurtured, they will learn to love the Lord and find joy in serving Him. Our next story is about a teenager who experienced the value of giving faithfully.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Mom.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just having trouble figuring out my tithe.
Do you want to use my calculator in my phone so you can figure out the tithe?
Yes, that would actually help a lot.
Here. Oh.
Mom, if I give all this money back to God, I'm not going to have enough money to buy a dress for the banquet. I don't understand why I have to give a tithe and an offering.
Sarah, remember, less becomes more when you give in faith to God.
Well, fine. I'll do it. Mom, banquet is coming up and I still don't have a dress. We need to go shopping.
Well, actually, I was planning on going to the mall tomorrow, so I'll pick you up from school and we'll go together and see if you can find something. How much money do you have, though?
I only have $13 to my name, and I'm pretty sure we're not going to find anything for $13.
Well, are you looking for something in particular?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking for an elegant and unique dress.
Great.
Keeper of my heart, I will rest in you.
There we go, boy. You've had your feed. Now I'm going to give you a bit of a brushing. You've always taken such good care of us, carrying us over the hot and dusty roads in the summer and the cold and snowy ones in the winter. It's our privilege to meet your needs as well. Makes me think of how the Lord supplies our needs. The Lord has no desire to see His children suffer, and He wants to provide for us what we need. You know, I was thinking, there was a time when Mother and I had gone on a trip and there was a family that needed a visit. We had no transportation, but one of the good brothers in the town there loaned us a wagon and a team, and we headed out of town and made off with a good start. But the thing of it is, we hadn't gone any distance at all, just a mile or two out of town. And we come on to a muddy stretch in the road, and it was some ferocious. There was fence down both sides, there wasn't any chance of going around, and nothing to do but to go through. And go through we tried. Well, we got right out about in the middle of it, as you can imagine, and we come to a